I want to give the example of a very hot topic, campaign that we are leading at this moment around Qatar. This campaign comes out of a risk analysis that we did at the ITUC, looking at the biggest challenges to fundamental social rights, workers' rights in the world. And it was very clear in that analysis that one, if not the biggest, areas of challenge is the Gulf region, where in a number of countries there are no worker rights at all. So we began to research, we began to build campaign planning, and then FIFA in 2011 announced that the World Cup would be held in Qatar. We know that at least 400 workers die every year in Qatar, migrant workers from very poor communities, Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Philippines. Mostly they are young men. There's about 100,000 women working in domestic work in very terrible conditions for the most part. And about 1.2 million young men from South Asia working to build the infrastructure for the 2022 World Cup. Around about $130 billion of investment over the next 7 or 8 years in Qatar. A very powerful player in the global economy, a very small country, very rich. We know it owns football clubs, it owns skyscrapers, and it has very, very big both diplomatic and commercial power in the world. We began in 2011 to try to have a dialogue with FIFA, a dialogue with the government of Qatar. I use the term government quite loosely because the government of Qatar behaves more like a small business with a couple of $1 trillion in the bank. It doesn't behave like a government. The dialogue led to nothing. And so 2 years further, another 600 dead workers, we are running a big international campaign. The very clear message, no World Cup in Qatar without workers' rights. If you want, I can go into the details and the terrible conditions that exist in that country, but it is a system of modern slavery. The employee has no power, and the impoverishment of the communities where the workers come from originally continues because they can't get a decent wage. So all of the information about the campaign you can find on this website, Rerun the Vote. And essentially we are working across 5 or 6 different domains to bring pressure on Qatar. The pressure right now is on FIFA. There will be pressure on the International Olympic Committee. Qatar want to host the Olympics in 2024. We cannot have an Olympics built on slavery. We are building public pressure. In the last 3 weeks, because of the media attention around the FIFA executive meeting, we've reached a global audience of more than 1 billion people with this story, and the media continues to get more and more interested. We also build public pressure using this website where people can sign up and join the campaign. We're working with the local communities in Qatar, migrant workers from the different countries. They have to work in a very clandestine fashion because they're continually under threat of arrest, deportation, disappearance into the prison system in Qatar. Journalists are now being detained and arrested in the last few days. But we are building with those local communities and organisations like the trade union Jafont in Nepal to support organising in the future. We're also working on multinational companies. There are many global companies present in Qatar in the construction sector. There are companies from Belgium, big ones, very important. And we're talking to them and their investors and the workers' pension funds that invest them about not dealing with slave labour and joining the campaign to clean up workers' rights in Qatar. We're working with the International Labour Organisation and a whole range of other international organisations and groups, and of course our partners in the human rights movement. 7% of the world's workforce is organised into trade unions. That's a very low figure, and our central objective is to increase that figure. But we also have close to 200 million people in our system. Qatar has a very big global footprint, well, so do we. And we're going to meet them at every corner and keep up the pressure for change in Qatar, in the Gulf, and against the exploitation of forced labour. The people want what we stand for, but we need to find ways of mobilising and bringing people to common purpose. So that's really the essence of the structure of the campaign in Qatar. The whole thing is built around engaging you, your communities, football fans in your areas, men, women, children, people from all walks of life, migrant worker networks that are operating around the world, the communities inside Qatar, as I mentioned, and also trying to get the world of business to open a serious dialogue about what is going on in the Gulf and in particular in that country. So far, everything is somebody else's fault. Every company that's gone on record, big powerful multinationals, it's not us, it's not us, it's not us. But one of the great successes we've had now is that we've broken the conspiracy of silence. And we've broken that in the last few weeks. But that is not enough. We have to sustain that pressure. So we just have to tell the truth. This is your global brand, this is your product, you are responsible for what happens in between, and this is the next phase of what we're going to be doing and saying in Qatar. It's exactly true. These are big multinational companies. They're very concerned about their reputation. Belgium, Bezix, is a very important company in Qatar. So they have a responsibility. They can deny it, but it doesn't change the responsibility, and we will keep hammering that responsibility to them. We always try to talk first. We're trade unionists. We always try to negotiate first. And the message to companies and governments is very simple. We can have this discussion, and if you refuse to have a sensible discussion here, then we'll have it in the public domain. And that's what we're having now with Qatar. 2 years, 600 dead workers. They refuse to deal with us. So now we're having discussions at a global level for everybody to see.
C'est vrai que l'exposé sur le Qatar m'a beaucoup interpellée parce que vu tout l'engouement actuellement autour de la Coupe du Monde, puisque la Belgique vient d'être qualifiée, et je ne suis pas particulièrement fan de foot, mais c'est vrai que c'est quelque chose qui mobilise tout le pays et il y a vraiment un très gros engouement et un très gros enthousiasme. Mais quand on voit les pays qui sont choisis pour les Coupes du Monde et les conditions des travailleurs qui travaillent à la construction des stades au Brésil et au Qatar, il y a vraiment des questions à se poser à ce niveau-là, et je pense que ça peut être vraiment une thématique de sensibilisation qu'on aimerait, enfin on en a déjà discuté dans notre région, qu'on aimerait mettre en exergue et sensibiliser les gens, parce que je pense qu'il y a beaucoup de monde qui ne sont pas du tout au courant du revers de la médaille de l'organisation des Coupes du Monde.